So, who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? Tell me about yourself.
Okay, my name is Adam Swart. I'm probably best known for being the founder and CEO of a company called Crowds on Demand. We
Okay,
are the nation's largest protest company. We allow you to hire protesters, a group of protesters, run advocacy campaigns, major product launches, PR stunts, anything that involves getting a lot of people in the same place at the same time, or maybe
sure.
different places at the same time or at different times. But
Yeah.
where we help you get publicity for whatever it is, raise awareness about whatever it is,
Yeah.
drive social change, drive your company's sales, drive candidates, whatever the case may be.
Okay, so it doesn't just cover politics, it's also
No.
companies can hire you and stuff like that. But I thought all protests were grassroots and just happen organically and naturally.
Well, Nate, the reality is that every movement that you like and every movement that you dislike has a lot of money behind it. So I don't
Okay,
know where you're
interesting.
at politically, but whether you want to talk about gay rights, civil rights, MAGA, Tea Party,
Yeah.
right? There's been a ton of money behind all of it. Now, I think what you see is you have right wing, left wing, both try to use money as a way to try to delegitimize the other side, right? So
Hmm.
if you there's a side you don't like, you want to say, oh well, their supporters were paid, so therefore their side is illegitimate. When the
Right.
reality is every side has a ton of money behind it. So let's stop the sort of bullshitting here and
Right.
let's understand that this is the United States of America. We're a capitalist country, right? So there's going to be money behind anything, right? So let's talk about the movement and let's talk about whether we like a cause, we don't like
Right.
a cause.
The merits of the argument. Yeah.
Understand that the method of a protest is merely a way to get attention to a cause, just as an advertisement is a way of getting attention for a product.
Sure. So you look at it like an advertisement almost.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was on this podcast with a couple gentlemen, and they didn't like the concept of paid of having protesters. They said, "Oh, well, you shouldn't have people paid to be out a rally or a protest." And I
Hmm.
asked, these guys were also marketing a hard seltzer, and I said, "Well, would you want a fat guy on the cover of your hard seltzer, like a fat guy who lives in his mom's basement, or do you want a
Right.
bikini girl on the cover of your seltzer, right?" Like, and they
Yes.
said, well, they want a bikini girl. Well, it's like, why do you want a bikini girl? It's the same reason you want people at your protester at your rally. It's you want to portray your thing as popular, right?
Yeah.
So the way you do that for an alcoholic beverage is you imply that by having that beverage, you're going to have bikini girls around you.
Yeah.
For a protest, you want to show that, hey, this has support, which what it does is it gives permission to people who support the cause to join in the cause because we are kind of sheep, right? We're animals at the same time as we're people. And if we see two people on the street corner supporting a cause, even if it's a cause we agree with, we might be like, I
Right.
don't want to be a part of it. But now I see 100 people there. Now I feel like, okay, I can join this
Right.
because
Mob mentality is a real thing.
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's the same reason like you go to a restaurant, you don't know anything about a restaurant. You see one restaurant, see a ton of people outside. You see another, you go to another restaurant, no one outside. You want to go to the popular restaurant.
You're
Well, how do
exactly
you
right.
know the popular place is better than the other place? Well, you don't know, but the idea is if people are there, that it's better. So there you go.
Yeah. There's this joke that said, "Oh, no one goes to that restaurant; it's too full." You
Oh,
know.
yeah, yeah. There you go.
Anyway,
There you go. Yeah.
okay. So I wanted to ask. So crowds on demand. Where did that idea come from? What was your inspiration for that? Did you always want to be in politics for your whole life, or how did all this come about?
No. Well, I've been involved in politics to be sure. So, I got this idea when I was a college student 13 years ago.
Okay.
And so I was going to UCLA, working for a lot of campaigns, mostly on the Democrat side, though I'm an independent now, but on the Democrat side. So, working for all these campaigns, there was always a challenge of getting turnout, right?
Yes.
So getting turnout is one of the hardest things for a campaign, especially these days, right? And a lot of the people running the campaigns at the time were college students in the 60s, where you could just put some flyers on the quad and you get
Right.
1,000, 5,000 people. But activism has very much changed since then,
Yes.
right? So, but what we found is that protest rallies, it drives earned media. So if we were able
Mm.
to get 15 people at a protest, you could get hundreds of thousands of dollars of earned media. So for your
Yeah.
listeners, what earned media is it's the price of buying the ads for the amount of media attention you received. So if you got 5 minutes on national news, the cost to buy that ad might be, let's just say, $100,000,
Yeah.
right? Well, then you just got $100,000 of earned media.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and then how did the actual organization come about? What were you like? What was the was there a need that needed to be filled that you noticed, or like what
Yeah,
actually happened there?
I got the idea. So I was in LA, right?
Yeah.
So LA, so we noticed the need for turnout, but then I also noticed that what does LA have? A lot of is out of work actors, right? So you got a
Mm,
lot
yes.
gig workers, right? It's the original gig workers. Before that was even a term, there were people in LA and New York doing gig work, right? So
Yeah.
I said, well, what if we, instead of working as a busser or a valet or something, we could put these people to work as audiences,
Yeah.
right? Audience, and these people are good at instructions, they're theatrical, they can play a part, so let's do it. Now we changed the business model a little bit because
Genius. I love
that
that.
attracted a little controversy, so we try to make sure that everybody actually cares about the cause now. But when I
Absolutely.
approached business, I really didn't care about that. My goal was just providing these people and getting that turnout, right? And it worked really well. So people want the turnout and we would give them the turnout.
Yeah. Do you remember your first campaign or your first job that you got for that company?
Yeah, so some of the first ones, interestingly enough, were not as much political and more were publicity for companies. So companies that were trying to get on the map and advertise,
Okay.
right? They would, let's just say you're a startup company, right? And you're at a convention and there are a lot of big competitors. You need to get noticed, right? So
Mm,
doing something like this is very effective. So actually, some of our earliest business was has been those startup companies,
yeah.
right? And then we have gone involved in politics as well, obviously, and a number of other things. A lot of what we've done is at the behest of our clients. So we've expanded because our clients are saying, "Oh, well, can you do this and can you do that?" And
Yeah.
we learn and
You
then
accommodate.
yeah, that's correct.
That's awesome. So what are some of the more significant projects that you've worked on, would you say?
Yeah, well, some of my favorite ones include the hashtag delete Facebook
Okay.
campaign. So basically, after the 2016 election, both Republicans and Democrats were fed up at Facebook because it was the platform was basically turning Americans against each other, Republicans and Democrats, and
Yeah.
making money doing it,
Yeah.
right? So they were doing that. And in fact, they were even accused of fomenting a genocide in the country of Myanmar, right? So just a nasty company,
Yeah.
right? So we basically were pushing the idea that, hey, this is a company that has done so much bad stuff. And so whenever Zuckerberg would do any kind of event, whenever like Facebook headquarters, Zuckerberg's residence, like major events, we
Yeah.
would be kind of with the hashtag delete Facebook. And what's interesting is like people didn't delete their Facebooks,
Yeah.
obviously. It was more of a tongue-in-cheek effort, but the what it actually did do is they changed their name. So did you notice that shortly after 2017, 18, 19, when all this occurred, they changed their name. They call themselves Meta now.
Yeah.
And number one,
Do you
number
think
two,
that you had influence in
I
that?
did. I do strongly believe that because the Facebook name is so tarnished. When you say Facebook, it's just
Yeah.
like, ugh, it's gross, right?
Yeah.
And number one and number two, they also adopted changes reducing political advertisements on their platform. Now, I think
Okay.
Facebook is still sort of a putrid platform, and they've
I think of Facebook as kind of like old bitter people.
Right,
Yes.
and by the way, I put Instagram with Facebook because it's owned by Facebook, right?
Sure.
Is that and I refuse to call it Meta because I think they still have accountability on what they've
Yeah.
done previously. Because what they've done is teen suicide, general
Oh my
suicide,
gosh. Yeah.
right? I mean, think about the people that you know in your just in your life who've gone down a left-wing rabbit hole, right-wing rabbit hole, and you don't hear from them again, really, because they've just become so radicalized, and because the platform does that to you,
Yeah.
right? Is you're maybe a little bit on the left or you're a little bit on the right, and it'll radicalize you if you're even somewhat impressionable. And I
Okay.
know that's happened to. So it is a profound evil what that platform has done.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking where who funded that effort against Facebook?
Well, I can't say specifically, but I
Okay.
can say it's people who've actually made a lot of money on the company, is my understanding, and then were became aghast at what the company became and what they were doing. So it was actually
Understood.
people, and a lot of these tech companies have this where it's like the Frankenstein, it's like you don't understand what you've actually built. It's like the creator of dynamite actually, I think later was like, oh, I can't believe I created this
Right.
destructive device,
Yes, yes.
right? It's destructive technology. Now, probably would have been created one way or the other, but a lot of times you create something and you don't really have any idea what something could become. So
Yeah.
that's one example. We've organized campaigns to reduce the price of prescription drugs. We've done a lot of extremely impactful efforts around the country.
Yeah.
And I like to say we're always on the side of common sense.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So I had seen somewhere that there's been a 400% increase
Yeah.
in these types of
In
requests for
requests.
your yeah,
Requests. That
in
doesn't
this
mean
industry.
yeah, well, that doesn't mean bookings, by the way. So just
Okay.
because people contact us doesn't mean we take every booking that comes to us. But
Is this
yeah,
industry wide or is this for your company specifically?
well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I can say that in our case, we have noticed a huge uptick in requests. And I
Interesting.
attribute that to a few things. Number one is that people are getting more engaged in politics, and particularly company. It used to be, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it used to be that most companies would stay out of politics. And if they
Right.
engage in politics, it would be very much okay, we want to build a new headquarters, so we want to make sure that we're on good terms with the local city council or whatever. But most companies are not focused on, oh, we need to have a good relationship with the or bad relationship with the White House, right? Like we're
Right.
doing
Well, it's like what Michael Jordan said, even Republicans buy sneakers, you know?
right. And the reality is that now companies are feeling like it's necessary to get involved. So, in politics, so under the Biden administration, that meant all these companies were adopting so-called ESG policies,
Ooh.
environmental, social governance, like woke corporatism. Okay, we're doing the
Right.
diversity thing, we're doing all this, right? Now they're all going the opposite way and saying, oh, we're gonna, do whatever the Trump people want us to do,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
So
that
there's this
yeah, go
there's
ahead. Go ahead.
so I think that my I attribute the uptick in protests is the idea of like all these companies, all these people realizing they have to get involved in politics, or competitors who get involved are going to roll over them.
Yeah. Well, that just you talking about that reminded me of the Bud Light situation. So, I mean, that to me was kind of the biggest first domino to really fall of like, hey, this ESG stuff isn't gonna fly anymore. And then Target very shortly after that with their transgender stuff. That seemed to me to be the first big moment where Republicans had a lot of hope. Like, hey, maybe we can turn the ship around. Was that an organic movement? The
Well,
Bud
no,
Light
of course.
stuff?
Well, what is an organic movement? So obviously, someone they're. I mean, I would put it this way: they're doing the same thing as the left. They're actually copying the tactics of the left. The left has effectively engineered corporate boycotts since the '60s, if not earlier,
Yeah.
right? Where you that I mean, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but the left has, whether it's the apartheid South Africa, right, or whether it's companies that would discriminate against African Americans, right, the left would regularly engineer boycotts and saying, hey, if this company is going to do something that we consider unacceptable, we are going to boycott them. And the left became very effective at doing so,
Yeah.
right? And to the point where even companies that were owned by very, very conservative people like Chick-fil-A would make concessions
Oh my
to,
gosh. Yeah.
right? So even
Yep.
Chick-fil-A basically at one point said, we're not going to get involved in politics, I believe, because the pressure from the left was so great. So if even Chick-fil-A, which is not a publicly traded company and owned by extremely conservative people, is willing to basically say, we're going to make concessions, that's a testament to the effectiveness. Now, what the left, what the Bud Light was. Now, obviously, these were orchestrated, organized campaigns by the left. You can't do a corporate boycott without organization. So it's the same thing that happened with Bud Light. I mean, I know there were huge figures on the Republican side who were involved in that. I think Trump Jr. was even involved in that,
Yeah.
Donald Trump's son, right? So again, I think that people are missing the point when they're just like, oh my God, your thing was paid. Oh my God, your thing was paid. It's all fucking paid, right? So let's stop like being infants here and
Yeah.
realize that we live in the United States where there's money behind these movements. So
Yeah.
the question is, do we like Bud Light? Do we like Chick-fil-A? Do we like Target, right? Like, let's, now, I totally believe that Americans should be able to put their money where their mouth is. So when it comes to these corporations, if you don't like what Target is doing or Bud Light or Chick-fil-A, like, do business or don't do business with
Yeah.
them, right? It's up to you.
Right. Well, I think Democrats are generally more collectivist. It's a lot easier to kind of organize that kind of stuff. Everyone moves as a unit, and there's not a lot of
Correct.
infighting.
And
And it,
Republicans have also just been plagued with their inability to actually get shit done on this stuff.
oh my
So
gosh, yeah,
one thing is like the Republicans, like they were getting mad under the Biden administration, like, oh, we're getting debanked, which is true, right? So like
yeah,
all these banks were like saying, oh, well, we're not going to do business with this or that group that's conservative, right? So then the Republicans, oh, we're going to start our own bank. Well, no one ended up working with that bank. The bank was like a clusterfuck. It was poorly
right.
run. There were a couple, but the one I'm thinking of was terribly run,
Hmm.
mismanaged, and most conservatives ultimately didn't trust it.
Yeah,
So, the at the end of the day, you have to have an alternative, right? So if you're going to say, well, don't do business with Target, well, what's the alternative to Target, right?
right.
What's the alternative to Bud Light? So
Yeah.
it helps if you have an alternative.
Yep. Well, I remember when Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all these companies were banning on a regular basis, and this little speck called Parlor was starting to
Yeah.
rise up in the ranks, and then boom, they just cut that out, and it was like we
Well,
had
it
we had a
ultimately
little bit of hope, and they just cut the tree off, cut the tree
Right,
down.
and ultimately failed. And Truth Social probably would have failed had Trump not become president. Right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't believe Truth Social would have ultimately succeeded if he had not won.
Truth
Uh,
Social is Trump.
right, it is Trump. Right? I mean, because ultimately, yeah, ultimately, people are the most conservatives are on Twitter,
Yeah.
right, and liberals are kind of on whatever they're on, right? So, um.
And the
They've got
and Musk buying X. I mean, that was probably the biggest life raft that's happened in at least for the First Amendment in recent history. I mean, that
Yeah,
changed the
but I don't
game.
think Musk has done a great job either because I think like he is not he's done the same thing that he accused the other side of doing. He promotes voices. I mean, he promotes his own tweets, right?
Sure.
Like he literally promotes his own stuff. He promotes people he likes and
Yeah.
so everything that he accused correctly the lefty management of doing, he's done the same thing. So it's like it's kind of
Yeah.
sad and so like really my problem with Musk and with Trump is that they correctly critiqued the Biden administration and the left wing corporations for stifling free speech, but they've kind of done a lot of the same things
Sure.
that they accuse the other side of. And it's conservatives need to like call that out because
Yeah.
otherwise it's just hypocritical. And what's going to happen is in 2028, if Ocasio Cortez becomes president, she's just going to do the same thing. See, every president since like Biden was anti-free speech, Trump is anti-free speech. I think he has not done enough. He can change it, but now the next left-wing president is going to be even more anti-free speech. So
Hmm.
we need someone to basically say, I'm okay with speech that I
Right.
disagree with.
Sure.
You know, and I really need a president who's willing to say that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the reason I brought up X or Twitter was just to point out that that is a viable alternative for the first time, for Republicans in quite a long time,
Well,
even if it
it's a
might not be run
correct. It's a
perfectly.
conservative social media platform at this point,
Yeah.
but it's not, again, Elon missed an opportunity to make it an actual
Yeah. Free speech.
fair space. And I would have
Yeah.
loved for him to actually say, okay, we're not going to stifle conservative, and we're also going to promote liberal, right? And we don't care. And instead, it feels like he's just stacked the deck
Hmm.
on the other side.
Yeah. Okay, so what are some of the things that you're working on right now? What do you see? Where do you see this going in the future?
Yeah, so let me outline the three priorities that I want to work on because it's all about we're January 2026. It's time to outline intentions, right? I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you my intentions. My intentions are there are three things that I'm very passionate about. Number one, as you've perhaps deduced, social media. Social media is a cancer in this country, and it is time that we figure out a way to do something about that. And
Okay.
I want to run campaigns that really focus on ending the corrosive influence of social media in this country.
What
And
specifically?
TBD, everything
Okay.
about the influence, right? So
Like
what
just
is
banning social media outright
no,
or
no, 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 because
okay.
I'm a free speech absolutist. But let me tell you what I don't like about them. I mean, first of all, social media has various protections that other media don't have. So my thing is, I don't have. I think I'm a First Amendment absolutist, but
Yeah.
I'm also an anti-corruption activist. So it's worth discussing that big tech has essentially controlled the levers of government for the last 20 years, right? They're some of the biggest spenders on lobbying. They own Congress, right? So
Well, the
like
craziest part is they have the best of both worlds. They have the benefits of being kind of a public, open platform. Anyone can say whatever they want, and we're not responsible. But we're a private company, and we can do what we want.
yeah, so the reality is that what you need is well, first of all, so the big tech, I mean, that's indisputable that and it's funny that when you've seen these like clips of congressmen attacking Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like they're yelling at him. It's all just like a dog and pony show. Like it's like it's they yell at him and he knows they're going to yell at him, but they don't do shit. So it's
Yeah.
like it's laughable. It's laughable. So what they need is a few things, right? So number one, these algorithms that basically promote content that is problematic, right? That they're trying to get you on a rabbit hole. They're trying to make you insecure. They're trying to make you hate other Americans. They're trying to do all of that to try to, the doom scrolling. They want you to spend as much time as possible on their platforms so that they can reel you in and sell your time to advertisers,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean? You are lunch meat for them. And that is a big problem. Look at what's going on with kids, right? In particular, I mentioned teen suicide,
Yep. Young
right?
girls. Yeah.
From this, I mean, it is a cancer, and it is like it is basically a product designed and engineered to make you unhappy and make you sick. So
Yeah.
these are sick products, right?
What policy changes do you think, Adam Swart, dictator for a day, you can force them to adopt any policy you want. What would fix those problems for the
Well,
for
I
this
think we
first
need to.
issue?
Well, I think there are certain things around the doom scrolling that have to be addressed, right?
Okay.
the doom scrolling, the restrictions on children's use of the platform, right? Because while there's a First Amendment, our Supreme Court has regularly affirmed the concept that under 18 doesn't necessarily have certain free speech can be restricted to the
Right.
extent that it's harmful,
You don't have
right?
universal rights if you're a child. Yeah.
Correct. So definitely in regards to the kids, I also want to look at all the addictiveness of the algorithms. So I think that the fact that these algorithms are designed to be addictive to me is a major problem. Um,
Okay.
so
I was
because
talking to my sisters last night, and something I noticed on YouTube, something they notice on TikTok and Instagram, is that they'll randomly pop up these things that are like, it's like time to take a break, or maybe you should take a nap, but it's weird because there must be some legislation behind that because surely the companies wouldn't do that on their own. They don't want people to leave the
Well, but I
app.
think it depends on how forceful they are. Partially, these companies do that as a way to to virtue signal.
Okay, that makes
But
sense.
I can see that those things is like these companies are trying to virtue signal,
Yeah.
and see, but like ultimately all you have to do is X out the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's kind of like, I will put it this way: it's like, let's just say I've had 10 shots of vodka, and I get in my car, and my car is like, and my car is like, "Are you sure you want to drive drunk?" And I say, "Yes, I am." And then it still lets you drive drunk.
Right, right.
So I don't know whether that's really helping anybody.
Sure.
I mean, I think that those are baby steps. What we need is overhaul. So number
Yeah.
one, we have social media. Number two, we have fast food and processed foods. I mean, I think you can agree that RFK Jr. has been a complete paper
Let's go.
tiger. He hasn't done anything right. I predicted it correctly. Just like Doge has been kind of a joke, right?
He's done
Doge.
a couple things. It's better
Oh,
better to have him than most other people.
no, he hasn't. He hasn't. He hasn't done anything. Like McDonald's is still alive and well. They're still pumping up processed foods, the trans fats, and all that. There's
Yeah.
this little bit of, oh, he's going to work with the companies to end red dye, the red dyes, but where's the red dye is still there, I think, right?
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a total paper tiger. It's been a
There's
complete.
some there. It seems like there's been some minor changes that there were some specific promises he made. The dye and the beef tallow
Yeah,
and
but has he
the
gotten the die that has that done? Has been that been happening, or has that been a press release saying he's going to work
right.
with?
I
I
think
read that
it's
as a press release saying he's going to work with them to resolve it on their convenience,
okay.
right?
Hmm.
The reality is that again, it's like big agriculture, big fast food companies. He's not gonna. I mean, even if he's sincere about it, like ultimately, it's been a paper tiger. Like, yeah, okay, we have beef tallow in like that's just again performative. That's virtue signaling, just like
Yeah.
wokeism is virtue signaling. That's the equivalent of saying, "Oh, we have a black lady on the board, so we're not racist anymore."
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
RFK has been a paper tiger. Let's just be real about it. He doesn't have to be like. Let's just not pretend. Let's not do this song and dance
What
that.
would you like to see him do? I saw something recently that just came out. Trump tweeted something, so take it with a grain of salt, I suppose. But he said the current vaccine schedule recommends like 77 vaccines. They're reducing it to 11 for the recommended
I don't
vaccinations.
really care as much about that as I do about the fast food. That's really what's killing people in the processed foods.
Hmm.
Like I would like him to adopt the same standards that the Europeans have. I see all this over Twitter. Like people are like, oh, well, I don't feel sick in Europe even when I eat fast food. That's because there's certain of these processed foods that are not allowed in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So let's just adopt what they have in Europe and call it a day.
Yeah.
RFA, are you man enough to do that? Like,
Right.
are you man enough to say let's do that, even if it would increase the price of a Big Mac by a
Right.
dollar? Right? Like that's why they haven't done it is because ultimately if they do that, it's going to increase the price of a Big Mac by a buck or two, right?
Well, let's
And
assume RFK is sincere for a moment. What authority, control, or power does he ultimately have other than just doing his best to work with these guys, you know?
do his best to work with these guys, and like any public servant, if you feel like you're being your agenda is being stifled, you resign. and say this is a disgrace.
Hmm.
That's what you do. That's what you do, actually. Which is exactly what the
But then you can't
general.
do anything about it, right?
Well, but I think if RFK Jr. Resigned and said this is a disgrace, we haven't actually aren't be able to do anything that I promised, and Maha has actually not been able to accomplish anything because we're being stifled, then that would actually make a major show to his supporters, right? Now,
Hmm.
I'm not
Okay.
saying I'm not like, but my point is like, if he, it's compromise is necessary. If he was able to get 50% of what he said done, I'm not saying like he should get 100%, but I'm saying he's gone like 2%. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, if you're at 2%, then that's not very good. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm a big fan of the Maha movement, and
Yeah.
I'm just saying like he's gotten 2% done. Um,
Okay.
maybe he ought to say like, look, we've got to get this done. The reality is, and he's got to stand up and call these guys out there. What he should be doing is going outside protesting McDonald's, which is what I want to do.
Wow.
Protest McDonald's and the
Yeah.
big fast food companies and say these are companies that have contributed to diabetes, cancer, heart disease, premature death for millions of Americans, disproportionately poor, disproportionately black Americans, right?
Yeah.
Market to black Americans. I want to see something like that, guys. Like, you know what I mean? I
Right.
just want them to be more than a paper tiger. And I think he has that ability, but and I understand that he's part of a coalition,
Sure.
but he needs to get something done, and he hasn't. So
Yeah.
let's just be real and stop, pretending like he's gotten a bunch done when he hasn't.
Do you think if you were somehow, I don't even know how this would be possible, but if you were partnered with him somehow, do you think that you guys would be that you could help him be more effective in his current position?
Absolutely, because I think we need to put a lot of pressure on the food industry to change. And that has to come both from the levers of government, but also from the levers of public opinion.
Yeah.
So I think if there was pressure on the giant food producers, Tyson's Food, McDonald's, KFC, whatever, and there was a public outcry and people were outside their branches of their companies, right? Then I think you would see that combined with the levers of government would, I think, work well. So I'm happy to do that because I think it's important and I agree with a lot of what he's saying. What really upsets me is that he made these grand statements and it does not feel like it's been just under 1 year since he's been in office, and it feels like it's just as bad as ever in terms of the fast food. I don't
Hmm.
think, and we have not really addressed the chronic disease epidemic in this country that he's correctly identified. But again, the commonality with Elon and Trump and RFK is they've all very correctly identified the problem, but I think they have all not lived up to actually solving the problem.
Right. I could agree with that in most cases. So, okay, so it was social media, fast food, and we have about 5 more minutes left.
One more is making America's cities better. I mean, the defund the police movement has been one of the most largest catastrophes in American history. Like,
Oh my
who
gosh,
would
yeah.
ever say defund the police? And of course, the people who they claim this is for, which is the black community, is the most against defund the police and has been the most hurt.
Harmed. Yeah.
So that's really the most sad part of it all is that the people that they say they're looking to protect. So I want to end defund the police. I want to have more police. I want to actually double the number of police throughout America's cities. And I want to have better public transportation, better parks, right? We have too much crime in our cities and we have too many car accidents. I mean,
Yeah.
the other part is the car accidents. I mean, did you know, and these are concentrated in a lot of cities too. So did you know that there are over 2 million accidents per year that lead to hospital visits?
I did
2
not know
million.
that. Wow.
So that's basically almost 1% of us, right? Or certainly 1% of American drivers will be in an accident in any given year that will lead to a hospital. But moreover, there are 6 million accidents, I believe, that are reported to the police. So that would
Wow.
include accidents that aren't that don't cause any injuries, right? So 6 million reported to police, and there's probably a ton more that aren't even reported to the police,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe let's say 12 million accidents not reported to police, 6 million reported to police, 2 million with injuries. Probably some percentage of those are going to be life altering,
Hmm.
right? And 50 to 60,000 deaths, right?
Yeah.
By car accidents. Like, what the fuck? Like, why have we not done something about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is a staggering statistic. I mean,
It
it's crazy.
is.
I know people are like, and rightfully so, like they're like, oh well, I won't ride the subway in New York because it's too dangerous. Which you're right to express those concerns, but fuck, like we're talking six. I mean, 6 million police reported accidents a year. So that means of American drivers, we have a 3 or 4% chance every year of getting in that. And I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, so it's fresh on my mind. I was like, I know like 10 people who've like either died or almost died in a car crash,
Yeah.
right? Like, do you know 10 people who've died or almost died in any
But is that statistic higher than average, relative to other countries, or is it
I
exceptionally
would,
high in the US? And how would you change that?
yeah, it's very high relative to developed countries. It
Okay.
is not high relative to undeveloped third world countries. So
Yeah.
America needs, come on, like I would rather see ourselves with our other developed countries rather than undeveloped
Oh
countries.
yeah, for sure. Well, no, I
Um,
love that idea that you're talking about. Like America's supposed to be the shining city on a hill. I don't like that Beijing and other places like this are kind of being seen as like the future, and this
Yeah,
is
I don't
what's
want to be China at all. I want to, because I don't want that for us. What I would like is for us to do reasonable safety measures. For example, if you are a repeat dangerous driver, we take away your license. I'm sorry. And
hmm,
but part of that is we need better public transportation because right now courts are
interesting.
rightfully reluctant to take people's licenses away because if you lose your license, then you probably are going to be unable to work a job because you can't get to your job,
Right.
right? We need better public transportation, and then with better public transportation, we can take bad drivers off the road because then now we can say, well, look, you can take the bus, you can take the train, we'll also Uber, whatever, right? So take bad drivers off the road will be number one because just like a small number of criminals commit a vast majority of crimes. A small number of bad drivers commit a vast
Yeah.
majority of problems. So there's a lot I want to do. The point is, because I know we only have 1 minute left. I want to be part of the solution. I want to make America an amazing country, and I want to use the power of public protest and publicity campaigns
Yeah.
to be part of that.
Amen. Well, with our last few seconds here, I want to give you a chance to shout out social media, website. How can people get involved with you, or connect with you or follow
Crowdsondemand.com.
you?
www.crowdsondemand.com. Social media at CEO Adam Swart on Twitter.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. We'll have to do it again one of these days. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.